Mr. President, regional infrastructure is so important. It is the projects that go into small towns and regions that get jobs, get people moving in, start rebuilding economies after the move to the cities. I spoke in my maiden speech in this place about the fact that we are hampered in regions because the cost-benefit ratios measure benefit, economic benefit, not need. When they put thousands of people saving 5 minutes on the way to work in a city over dozens of people being able to drive safely down a road, it is wrong. When we sit there and we think of regional towns, the jobs they've lost over the cutbacks and the displacement over some time, it is investments like these that get people coming back. When they come back, the whole town grows, because we've seen the money drain from the regions. We've seen deals done where suddenly farmers have to deal with Woolworths and Coles and they lose money from the farm, so they lay off a farmhand. And suddenly the farm isn't as expensive, so the bank closes. That takes a few tellers away and takes a bank manager away, so the school's no longer viable, we lose the school. Everything we can do to put money back into these regions multiplies and makes regions better. During COVID, we saw a migration of people from the cities to the regions. We saw them going to where they could have a life, going where their kids could have a future, going where they could have lifestyle. And that's despite being down on the services that are normally offered in cities. Madam Deputy President, when those other across the road say, here we are pork barrelling, we are funding our seats, it's not new, it's not pork barrelling. Sometimes you know things, sometimes you know people, sometimes you know projects. Senator McDonald spoke just previously about good grant writers. There is an industry in grant writing where they get commissions on getting things through, even if the project is not up to standard in reality. They can make the good appear brilliant, they can make the bad appear good. And they overrun true projects funded by true local champions that will make a difference in communities. And doing that, having members that stand up and say, this is important to my people, this is important to my town, is not new. I'd like to quote from the ANAO's report into the last Labor government. And I quote, in one instance, ministers, in brackets Albanese, made an explicit decision to approve an application that was known to be otherwise ineligible under the guidelines. I quote again, in one instance, ministers, in brackets Albanese, explicitly decided to waive the project eligibility criteria for an application they wished to fund. This is
Senator, I will remind you to use people's correct title from the other place.
In a quote, it was required from Albanese. Sorry, ma'am. So these things happen. It is not new. It is not us reinventing the wheel. It is what happens when people stand up and see projects. And I'm not going to have a go at the now Prime Minister for this. Maybe he knew something that the grant writers didn't. Maybe he knew something that the things, because cost-benefit ratios don't know the project. If I go to, and they talk about National Party seats, there was a program, a big program, not just a little programs, a big programs. If we're talking about transitioning our economy, about diversifying our economy in regions that are energy and carbon dependent, significant funds were set aside under the previous government to assist communities to do that. I come from the Hunter Valley. I worked at the world's largest coal port. There was an allocation of $250 million under a regional transition program to assist the port to diversify. It is gone. The future of kids in the Hunter is gone. You are taking that opportunity away from them. You are taking a chance of life, of better life, away from them. It's in a Labor seat. As long as Newcastle is there, it will vote Labor. But what do? We get $500 million for a high-speed rail. What are we talking about? Almost a study, not even a project, on the basis, and I do quote the Prime Minister, to allow the people from the Hunter to get to Sydney. The people of the Hunter are not the servants' quarters of Sydney. We are not the works quarters of Sydney. We have a right to our own life. We have a right to our own aspirations, and that is being taken away, Madam Deputy President. If you go to the website, under the on the 20th of April 2022, Treasurer Josh Frydenberg handed down the pre-election economic and fiscal outlook that included a document that was for community projects. Every one of those projects was warranted and needed. They are across all seats. Members of Parliament on both sides were approached, plans and costings were delivered, discussions were had with councils and communities, and the benefits would be delivered. But every one of those projects is being reviewed. Labor say they are reviewing those measures from PFO. What will Treasurer Jim Chalmers, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and Infrastructure Minister Catherine King do to look after our communities if they take this away? The answer is nothing. Madam Acting Deputy Speaker, on that list on their website, there are projects from every state, every region, every party, and they all fall down. Here in Canberra, renovate, rebuild the AIS Arena, $11.4 million. Is that to go? We're looking at Lindsay, Bennett Park Recreation Space Upgrade, 0.59. Pick a seat, where they're all here. Brisbane, probably not the safest Liberal Party seat in the history of the world. Brothers Rugby Club Facilities Upgrade, $2.5 million. Madam Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Your time has expired.